Hey, I'm Luke, the Hard Times guy. I want to make a little video, and if it ain't little when I get done, I'm going to cut it back till it is little. Just going to do just a couple of things. First thing I want to do is promote my yard sale. This week of May, Friday, Saturday, 9 a.m. to roughly 3 p.m. Going to have the barn open. This room, the other side where all the stuff in the rough is and other stuff. The little barn over across the way, the lean-to on the back of my garage. It's going to be all of it. It's going to be open. You can go anywhere you want to and look at anything you want to look at. I'll try to keep you out of my workshop, but you can go in there too. Just don't get hurt. This weekend, Friday and Saturday. Another thing that's going on is the White River Antiques and Arts, or Arts and Antiques. Anyway, they're having a parking lot sale this coming weekend. Same time as I'm having a yard sale. I'd probably do it if I hadn't already planned to do this yard sale, but it's easier for me to do a yard sale once I got everything straightened up than it is to load stuff up and haul it down there and then haul it back when some of it doesn't sell. But they're having a sale in the parking lot, bunch of vendors out there, same kind of stuff, setting up in the parking lot. The mall will be open. You go inside, look at my booth. It's the best one in there if you like primitives and real antiques. Look it over in there. Support those vendors on the outside. I don't care whether you go there first or come here first, but you'd be better off to come here first because I got the best stuff and the best prices. That's all I wanted to do this little video, but I'm going to add a little something to it just for the sake of it being a Hard Times guy and the sake of me having an audience that expects certain things of me. The other day I went to an auction. It's clear over in, I think that's Jefferson County. You go through Jackson County and then you get into Jennings County and then I think that next county over there is Jefferson County. May not be right, but it's in that kind of a semi-wilderness area north of Madison and places east of Madison, clear over to Vevey and past Vevey. If you go north of there, you get into some real backward country in southern Indiana, and I went to an auction over there. While I was going over there, I went through Brownstown, took 250 south and east, and you cross 31 and 65 and head towards Highway 3 on 250. And you get into a little place called Paris Crossing, and then beyond that's Paris, I think. And then beyond that, I turned left off the main road and got back in there off, probably 4 or 5 miles off the nearest gravel road to where this auction was. But that little trip that I just described you, once you cross 31 and 65 running north and south on 250, 250 gets real curvy, real hilly, and real rural. And there's a little creek that runs along 250. Probably there's more than one creek. I tried to figure out what the name of that creek was, and I could have Googled it, I guess, and found out since then, but I didn't. I never did see no sign on the bridge that talked about what it was. But there's a little creek, or more than one little creek, that just meanders around through there. And every time I go through there, and I used to go through there a lot because I had an antique booth in Madison, Indiana, and I went over there about once a week. And that's the way I usually went, along 250. But every time I go through there, I think about something that happened in I'm going to say 1972. And the reason I'm going to say 1972 is I had a new 1972 Chevrolet pickup. It was green and white. And I didn't have it very long. I bought it new, 1972. And I traded it a little later on for a 1973 Grand Prix. And the Grand Prix wasn't new. I think it was, the 74s was already out. So I had that truck for a year, year and a half. And I was in that truck when this happened. Had a friend, his name was Mike Bridwell, and I told you the other day I was going to tell you some Mike Bridwell stories, and this is kind of one, but not one. This is a preview for an upcoming video that I'm going to make about the agitators. Now, y'all know what an agitator is. And I ain't talking about that thing in the middle of the washing machine that goes like this and agitates the water in your clothes. I'm talking about a person who is an agitator. And Mike Bridwell was, he was an agitator of the first order. And he was a mean agitator. I mean, he did it to get under your skin. He was a needler. He liked to gouge and probe and aggravate. And he's good at it. And he enjoyed it. This particular day, he and I and another friend who I'm going to call him Butch. His name wasn't Butch, but his mom and dad called him Butch, and a lot of other people called him Butch. We were going to that area. I think we were going to Vivi, or someplace close to Vivi, because Butch had graduated from college and he had got a teaching job and I think a coaching job. I think he was like the track coach or the assistant track coach over there at maybe Vivi, or if it wasn't Vivi, some county school close to Vivi. And he and his wife were moving there to set up housekeeping. And Mike and I were helping him move. I'm going to stop just a minute because I seen something on TV the other day. They was talking about friends and friendship. And I think it's on Fox News, and a couple of them guys that claim to be smart. And they was talking about friends and friendship. And one of them said, listen to this, one of them said, if you were a real friend, you'd never ask somebody who you said was your friend to help you move. Well, I'll tell you what, moving was no fun. When we were young and poor and couldn't afford to just pay the mover to come and do it all, that's how we moved. We asked our friends to help us move. And you found out who was your friend and who wasn't your friend, because them guys that couldn't, they disappeared or had some mysterious something going on the day you had to move. Them guys that showed up to help you move, they were proven friends. So I disagree with that statement. I helped a lot of people move when I was a young man, and a lot of people helped Betty and I move, and we moved several times when we were young. Anyway, that's what we were doing that day. Mike and I were helping Butch move from Bedford to near Vivi, Indiana. And we were on 250, right along that same route that I took the other day. We were on that road going through there, and that little creek, whatever it was running along beside the road. And I think of this every time I go through there. Butch, he just graduated from school. He got a teacher's degree, but I think maybe his major or a minor, or how that works, was he had some part of his degree was in geology. And he was proud of it, proud of having graduated, proud of having accomplished something, and proud of the knowledge that he'd gained that he intended to use in his lifetime. And I think he did use that knowledge, because he didn't teach school all his life. He went off to Texas or somewhere and got a job for one of them big companies that works in oil fields, Schlumberger, I think. I think he worked for them for a while, maybe other companies. At the end of his career, he was a consultant for people like that. So he used his knowledge of geology to help him throughout his life. But this particular day, we were just going along, and we were just talking and commenting about first one thing to another like young men do. And he said, That little stream there. He said, we've been seeing that off and on for several miles now. He said, that is the perfect example of a meandering stream. I just kind of nodded. I thought, all right. And Mike, he threw his hands up. Butch was sitting in the middle. Mike was over on the shotgun side. He said, well, Professor, geology professor, blessing us with your knowledge, a meandering stream. Would you like to expound on that, Professor? And he went on with the needle, and he just kept on and on and on about Butch saying, that's an example of a meandering stream. To the point that there's mad. And never come to nothing because we was going down the road in my truck. And we had work to do when we got to the other end. But I think of that. Just on, I can't go through that area without thinking of that day. And without thinking of Mike Bridwell. And without thinking of the way that he sarcastically aggravated, agitated people over something simple that they said. He did that in his entire life and enjoyed it to the last dog died. So I'm going to do a video about that one of these days, because here's why. My dad was also an agitator. He agitated like that his whole life. Now, he wasn't the mean, nasty agitator always that Mike was. In fact, he seldom was that agitator. Most of the time he was the fun-loving, laughing, we're all enjoying whatever's going on agitator. And he did a lot of laughing and snorting through his nose and snickering. I mean, he had a brother named Tommy, and Tommy was a deaf mute. And every time I was ever around them, the whole family signed. But my dad and Tommy would be I couldn't sign. I didn't know what they were saying, but you could tell that they were enjoying it. Both of them were just laughing and snorting and agitating one another. And I can't say that without saying this. Jay Morrison was like that too. And if you don't know who Jay Morrison is, he's another one of my good friends who's passed on. And Jay was an agitator, and he was the fun-loving agitator. He was the one, always the needle, always in the background, always a gouging and a probing and a pushing, but laughing. And everybody else, everybody was laughing with him, except sometimes the guy who was being agitated. But Jay just loved to do that, and he had more fun doing that than probably anything he did. And he too did it his entire life. And I'm going to talk about him and Mike and my dad and their being agitators. So I can't tell you when that's going to happen, but sometime, I hope before the 4th of July, I'm going to make that video. Look for it. It'll have something about agitator in the title of it. So don't know how long this has been. If it's been over 15 minutes, I'm going to edit part of it out. I'm a Hard Times guy. Like my videos, subscribe, share, and until the next time, I'm a Hard Times guy. Don't forget, this weekend, going to have a open barn.